All right, let's talk Warrior. There were a plethora of changes in this most recent build of Alpha. This is officially the Phase 4 build, and we have a lot of new things to talk about. And so this is probably going to be a Warrior dedicated video, and I'll talk about other tanks maybe in a separate video. I've already talked about Brewmaster at this point. Let's break this down part by part. So we're going to start with Colossus. So they added 3 new talents that we obviously didn't have before. So if we come in game and we swap over to Colossus, I'm level 88, so I'm going to be able to access 14 of the 15 talents. You have everything that we've seen before, from Colossal Might to Dominance of Colossus, the Mountain of Muscle and Scars. So all of the new stuff is actually residing on the right-hand side here. First, we have Decimator. Demolishes Final Strike, applies Deep Wounds to all targets at 150% effectiveness. Now, Deep Wounds was added as a talent on kind of the right-hand side here that is applied by Execute. So after you do your Demolish, you're going to get a pretty sizable damage increase, and of course, synergy with like Bloodborne is probably going to be like a common thing to run when playing Colossus. So what that looks like here is if we run up to these mobs and we just slam a Demolish, the Final Strike should apply those deep wounds that are going to actually do a fair bit of damage here. Almost 500 per tick at the level that I'm currently at, so not too shabby. Compared to a Shield Slam, it's about a free Shield Slam on a total of 5 targets, because Shield Slam I think hit for about 2k there. Not even, in 900, okay. So Deep Wounds is very good. Next, we have Cut to the Bone. Shield Slam critical strikes increases your rend and Deep Wounds damage by 50% for 8 seconds. So if we Shield Slam here, you're going to see this is Cut to the Bone, which just makes our bleeds obviously do more damage, which we're going to be able to apply bleed through rend and of course Thunderclap. So we get the buff, and then we can, do our Demolish, and now these should be ticking for, around that like 800 mark. And we essentially are just going to maintain this buff. Chances are you're probably going to have permanent uptime on it since you're shield slamming as part of your core rotation. So pretty cool. Pretty good. Very thematic to like Warriors, I think, just like applying big bleeds. And then lastly, we have, I'm not even going to try to say that word. I know I'm going to embarrass myself. Celeritas. Speedy, fast, swift. So quick conclusion. All right, we got there. So this is going to cause Demolish's Final Strike to grant you 10% haste for 10 seconds and increases the critical strike chance of your next Shield Slam by 100%. This obviously has a nice feedback loop with things like Precise Might, which causes the critical strikes of Shield Slam to provide you the Colossus Might stacks, which obviously leads to dominance, which then leads to further CDR on Demolish, leading to better uptime on all of these kind of abilities. I think these talents are really good. Big kudos to Blizzard for this. So I think generally speaking, this seems pretty good. Well, I'm going to just make sure that the haste buff works. So if we charge in, we're going to apply our rend. We're going to hit Shield Slam to apply our little Cut to the Bone. Then we're going to Demolish for big damage. Bam. And then we're going to get 2 buffs. They're the same icon. One is the crit strike. Bang. And the other one is just more haste. So all good. I think the feedback loop with this is going to feel really good. And it makes me a little bit more confident that Warrior's not going to be a total shit show. One problem that I've been having on Alpha, specifically with testing, is the template gear that they gave me. You can see that my haste is at 0. I have 0% haste. I'm getting 2% from, I believe, some talents from Wild Strikes, but that's it. I'm not playing Enduring Alacrity either. And so I guess I will be getting some haste as well from Into the Fray. Yeah, but it's hard to test Warrior because I don't have haste at all. So it feels clunkier. So any criticism I have right now, a lot of it's going to stem from my lack of secondary stats. All right, so that is what happened to Colossus. Let's actually come over here and take a look at Mountain Thane. So one criticism I had in a recent video that I did on Warrior is that they got rid of the avatar capstone in the class tree, and they've nerfed anger management. So you're going to have less uptime on avatar. That was one criticism. And also when you hit avatar, nothing changes about your rotation. You don't feel better for being in an avatar state. You're just doing your rotation and doing 20% more damage. So with Mountain Thane then, what they have done is they've basically baked that capstone talent into the Mountain Thane tree. So let's swap over to Mountain Thane and discuss. Now, I'm a little sad about this because all it feels is like they ripped the power from your class tree, put it into your hero talent tree, and was like, here you go, here's a new talent, where it's like, well, we already had this, so it feels like there's a lack of creativity here. Anyways, dissecting the right-hand side once again, we have Storm Surge. So Avatar increases the damage of Thunderclap by 50% and reduces its cooldown by 50%. So this is that talent that I was referring to. It's increasing Thunderclap's damage by a significant margin, which is good, but it kind of feels like bad that it's like a repackaged version of the thing that we've had for years and years and years. And so when you do charge in, and we pop Avatar, our Thunder Blast / Thunderclap is going to have a pretty short cooldown, and as you can see here, it's going to do like kind of really big damage, which is obviously pretty good. So if this is kind of the like, I don't know, I actually prefer Colossus when I'm playing Avatar. No, Avatar. When I play Prot Warrior, I generally prefer Colossus. I just think Demolish is such like a fun ability to play. I know a lot of people do like Mountain Thane, so hopefully I'm not going to come off too negative about this, but the next thing that they added is Conductivity. This is increasing lightning strike damage by 10%. So when you do Thunder Blast, you have a chance to call down lightning strikes, which then do more damage. It increases its critical strike damage. So once again, very kind of passive. Doesn't really affect your rotation too much. And yeah, that's kind of it. Nothing too interesting happening with this talent. And last but not least, we have Capacitance. During Avatar Thunder Blast, during Avatar, there should be a comma there. Thunder Blast extends Avatar's duration by 2 seconds. So while you did lose cooldown reduction on Avatar from the base kit, specifically with Anger Management getting nerfed, it used to be every 10 rage, now it's every 20 rage is 1 second off of Avatar. When you are in Avatar, you're probably going to proc, 3, 4, maybe 5 Thunder Blasts. You're going to be attempting to extend said Thunder Blast so you have more uptime on Avatar, which means more Thunderclaps, which means more damage, which then feeds back into obviously more cooldown reduction or more uptime. So generally speaking, I believe that it could be pretty good. It might actually shift it to like Snap Induction. Getting the free Thunder Blast could lead into more of an extension on Avatar, which is just like really good. To me, a warrior should, like, the whole gameplay loop of warrior is obviously maintain your shield wall or shield block. But like Avatar is, and the cooldown reduction tied to it is kind of the main gameplay loop of Warriors, specifically with like things like Shield Wall, or at least it used to be Shield Wall. So them stripping down Anger Management doesn't feel like a prune that was necessary to play the class effectively. So we're hoping that Warrior feels really tanky once we start testing like endgame content and obviously like the Plus and Raid. But I just think they kind of stripped down the good aspects of Warrior that weren't overly complicated. Like Warrior is a very simple spec. I think them making things like shield block and ignore pain a little bit more simple is good, but stripping down like their cooldowns, like that wasn't complicated. That wasn't like a weird buff management thing that you had to do. It just rewarded you for hitting our ignore pain and shield block as often as you possibly could. So here we go. When we do charge in, I'm going to pop Avatar. I get a Thunder Blast here. You're going to notice that I have 19 seconds. And then when I Thunder Blast again, it goes back up to 20. Then we're going to get another Thunder Blast proc. Then I can pop Demo, get another Thunder Blast, pop that back up to 18 seconds. And then you're kind of hoping that you just get lucky with Thunder Blast procs, right? Like that is kind of the hope here. I don't think we're going to get enough cooldown reduction on Demo Shout to get another use of it. But if we can get another Thunder Blast, that would be pretty tight. Unfortunately, I'm not going to get one. That's okay. I also, again, having no haste definitely does not help the case for Mountain Thane currently. I feel like this is the first time on Alpha that Prot Warrior is in a more playable state. Rage Economy feels better because of these talents. Not having haste doesn't help, like I said, but I think because they stripped down the entire class tree, it made Prot Warrior just felt like it was like still just missing something. The last little concern I still have is that this bolster talent feels like it's still out of place. Last Stand's cooldown is reduced by 60 seconds. There is no cooldown. It's not an ability anymore. It's a passive. So the wording on this feels wrong. And getting shield block when you're that low is like also not super great. Maybe if it gave you like a free shield wall and shield block or something. But again, bolster just feels, not that it's like bad. It's just like not working as it should. Like they should rework this, right? Like that's, I think, a fair line of thinking. Anyways, okay, that is all with the hero talents. Overall opinion of these changes, I think, well, I should just say additions. They didn't really change anything. Mountain Thane feels a little repackaged, and Colossus, I think feels really good. I think I'm gonna have personally more fun playing Colossus, like I always have, but I understand the enticing factors of playing Thane. But there's something about just getting these big demolish hits that just feels super super good. 1, 2, 3, bam, hits everything for 10k, 20k crits. We get some big bleed damage. We're getting big crits with our shield slams. It's giving us cooldown reduction, or should eventually give us cooldown reduction. Big fan. I'm a big fan of this. So at this point, we're now going to be getting that CDR since our thing's glowing. I guess I should maybe pop Avatar. And then we can go for another big slam here. Boom. 26k non-crits. That's crazy. Yeah, it's good. It's good. I like this a lot. Okay, so let's talk about the class. The class tree got a heavy rework. So they've added a couple new talents. They've added field dressing, which is healing received increased by 3% and all self-healing increased by an additional 10%. I don't know how much this is going to affect prot warriors, since a lot of the damage you're mitigating is through block and ignore pain, and you're already getting a fair bit of leech passively. You have 7% base leech, so I don't think the incoming healing is going to be all that impactful, but it is an option for players who want it. It's actually attached to pain and gain. So this has been moved down. Next, we have Fearless. The cooldown of Berserker Rage is reduced by 50%, and Berserker Rage removes all movement impairing effects. So it's now a choice node with Berserker Shout. So you have Berserker Shout, which is an AoE fear removal on your group on a 30-second CD, or you can now use Berserker Shout or Berserker Rage every... Is it a 30-second CD or is it a minute? I always thought it was a minute. Am I crazy? That's 30-second. So removing the impairment effect is actually pretty broken, I think. It depends on how many roots you end up seeing in dungeons, but pretty good. New talent, Javelineer. Stormbolt, Shattering Throw, Wrecking Throw, and Champion Spear applies Hamstring to all targets, reducing the movement speed by 15%. Just in case you're not familiar, Hamstring is an ability that is in kind of like the base kits. It costs Rage and applies a 50% movement slow. Now you're going to be able to apply it with everything from Stormbolt to Champion Spear, etc. Or I don't know if we're going to play Champion Spear. I also don't think having a 50% slow from the Prot Warrior is necessarily impactful compared to, like, we already have a 20% slow from Thunderclap. Oh, sorry, 40% slow from Thunderclap. So a 50% slow doesn't really matter. Kind of seems like a talent that you're never really going to play. Maybe it's for PvP. Maybe it's for the other, arms or fury specializations. Champion Spear has been redesigned. Throw a spear at the target location, chaining all enemies to the area, dealing physical damage instantly, and additional physical damage over 6 seconds. While the spear is active, activating the ability will cause you to leap to the spear, slamming down, doing physical damage to all enemies, or all targets. All damage dealt reduced beyond 5 targets generates rage. The previous iteration was an experiment to see if a softer version of a pull effect would be useful. We don't feel that this was a success, so we're trying another approach to Champion Spear that leans into Warrior's natural mobility and providing a new tool for engagement or gap closing. So let's take a look at what this looks like. I'm not going to lie. Some of the stuff I started looking at before the video, I have not looked at this yet. So let's see what it ends up looking like. So let me put this on my bar, probably a good idea. It's on my bar, but I want you guys to be able to see it. I don't know where to put it. Just put it on R, I guess, right? Bam. Actually, let's just take that off for now. As you can see, the circle has gotten a lot smaller than it was. So that's, I don't know if that's good or not, but basically you're going to chuck this down, and now it turns into like a heroic leap. And when I hit this, I instantly leap onto the spear. So I guess that's kind of cool. It still chains enemies to it, right? So they can't leave. It deals, the tooltip is saying it does 4k damage. So you do 3k damage up front, 4k damage over 6 seconds, and when you leap to it, it's going to deal a burst of damage as well. I'm not sure how I feel about that. Let's let the cooldown go, and we're gonna talk about the next couple talents. Intimidating Shout has been redesigned. Enemies are no longer feared, they are no longer feared in place, but the flee from the warrior will have their movement speed reduced by 70%. I think this is fine. In Mythic Plus specifically, there's an issue where when targets are fleeing, they generally flee directly away from the targets. And when they flee at like 100% speed or 70% speed, they have the chance to go really, really far from the group and social other mobs, where in this case, having a 70% slow, so they're moving at 30% normal speed, means that they're going to stay relatively more grouped. Now, I didn't really want to bring this up, but I've been playing Fellowship a lot lately, and one of the DPS in that game have a fear, and while the mobs do flee from that character, they don't travel more than like maybe 5 yards or 10 yards in that game, which is kind of nice. I wish Blizzard would implement that instead. I don't care if they're slowed or not, but I definitely don't want them running all the way across, you know, the map. All right, so Champion Spear should be back. So let's look at this again. So what you can do basically is you can like pull mobs from range. I mean, it's not that far, but like you're like running up to this pack. You're like, let me just fucking blast in here. Boom. But what's weird is you kind of want to charge. So I don't know how impactful this is for prot, because I guess you could charge in, throw it down, then just like leap to it for the damage. But then it feels like you're not actually gaining mobility. So now it feels like more of a Mythic Plus, or no, not Mythic Plus, like PvP talent. So yeah, I'm not really sure. It does good damage though. Like I think that damage threshold is actually like not terrible. I just don't think it's adding mobility. It's just adding an additional step to your rotation. I'm gonna come back to this. I think it's cool. I just don't know if it's actually what they're trying to do with it from a Mythic Plus perspective. I don't think it's gap closing or engagement, because it's not generating you. It's generating you 10 rage, right? But charge generates 20 rage, and it's a gap closer and provides mobility. Shield charge is also a gap closer, provides rage, and it stuns a mob. Where the spear doesn't feel like it's really doing that much outside of damage. So, yeah, I'm not sure what it's like from a DPS's perspective, but for the tank, not so much. All right, so there's some other changes as well. Honed Reflexes has now as an additional effect. Successfully interrupting an enemy causes the damage you deal to them by 5. So it's a 5% damage increase. Wait, hasn't that always been a thing? Oh, they baked it into that other talent that they removed. Okay. So they kind of like bake the two talents together. I think that's fine. I think it's good to get that big old damage increase. Also incentivizes kicking. That's good. They removed the leech from Rallying Cry, but instead increased its health granted by 2% and duration by 3 seconds. Why does that sound so much worse? Going from 10% max health to 12% max health, does that really make a difference? I think when it comes to AoE or like group cooldowns, it's still terrible. It's still a terrible CD, specifically for Mythic Plus. I mean, Raid, sure, but man, that's garbo. Barbaric training has been basically improved, or not improved, but changed. It's now Slam, Whirlwind, Thunderclap, which is weird because this is saying specifically Revenge. Maybe that's a tooltip bug? Not really sure. Thunderclap will now automatically apply Rend if it's talented into Rend, so you still need a talent into this if you want to apply your bleeds, which chances are you will. Crushing Force is now a 2-point talent, so this is going to require you to put, obviously, 2 points into to get that shield slam damage and crit damage increase, which obviously for Colossus will most likely make sense. 10% crit chance for your Precise Might is going to be pretty impactful. So the developer note does say we are continuing to iterate on the warrior class trees, aiming to add more utility to the warrior class for different playstyles and builds and different content. And then they have a big note on Blood and Thunder. I don't think this really affects specifically prot, because you're always applying it with your Thunderclap anyways. But they were doing some like weird choice node stuff with Blood and Thunder and Rend, which just didn't really make sense. So they have simplified it by removing it. They also removed Concussive Blows, which is what Hone Reflexes now is. They removed Menace Death Strikes and the Cacophonous Roar. I don't know if I said that. Probably definitely didn't say that right. So yeah, Warrior had a ton of changes. Holy. I think it's coming along. I don't want to say doomer, but I was definitely, out of all the tanks on Alpha so far, Warrior was the class that I was like the most down bad about, because it saw a bunch of class tree changes that negatively impacted protection, spec tree. The protection spec tree got no changes. They were missing Apex talents, and they were missing their hero talents. So it felt like they were just stripped of a lot of stuff, and it wasn't made up for in any meaningful way. With some of these other, new hero talents, I think Colossus feels a little bit more fleshed out, and I think Mountain Thane, while it does feel like it's just repackaged talents, I think it does make the playstyle feel more smooth, but you're not gaining anything new. You're still just hitting Avatar and getting big Thunderblast damage. You're just now trying to play this minigame of extending your Avatar window, but that also feels bad because sometimes Thunderblast can just be a little RNG based on just the 35% chance to accumulate a stack based on lightning strike shit. So yeah, I'm a little concerned that Mountain Thane is going to be RNG and Colossus is not going to have good avatar or shield wall uptime. But anyways, let me know your thoughts down below. Those are the changes. I hope I was able to showcase everything here. One last time, I think like we'll charge in here. I'll do that. Maybe I'll shield charge back in, and then I'll throw down my spear, and then I'll jump to my spear, and then I'll fucking demolish. It just feels so dumb, dude. It feels fun. Like it's like it's something new to play with. I think out of all the like newly introduced talents, Champion Spear, I'm glad they're approaching it and trying to make it more enjoyable to play with. Not sure about this direction for Mythic or like for Mythic Plus, but yeah, pretty interesting. So yeah. All right. Anyways, catch you all on the next one. Peace.